Welcome to New Day Federal Way. I'm Kathy Arndt. Today we're joining Mayor Ferrell, City Council, and City staff members at Mirror Lake Elementary for the 4th Neighborhood Connection of 2014, held on September 26th. This series of neighborhood meetings takes place at 6 elementary schools across Federal Way and gives residents a chance to learn about projects and proposals impacting our local economy and quality of life. Neighborhood connections are also opportunities for residents to speak directly to their elected officials, ask questions, and alert the city to issues affecting their own neighborhoods. On today's show, we'll hear the latest from Mayor Jim Ferrell on new additions to the Commons Mall and local health care, exciting new developments in the downtown core, and the hottest topic in city development this year, the Performing Arts and Conference Center. Public Works Director Marwan Saloom describes recent traffic safety improvement projects and explains where the money for those improvements is coming from. Police Chief Andy Huang and his staff discuss current crime statistics and crime prevention tips and tools. Chief Huang will also tell us how to protect ourselves and our family from the biggest safety issues in our city. If you'd like to attend a future Neighborhood Connection event, stay tuned at the end of this program for details on where you can find the event schedule. We'll also tell you how to contact city officials and provide details on upcoming events your whole family will love. Let's join Mayor Ferrell and the City Council for the Mirror Lake Neighborhood Connection.
I just want to give you an idea of the structure of tonight. You're going to hear from myself, the police chief, our public works folks. We've got dispute resolution, a portion of this, but the most important part of the evening is to hear from you. And so we're going to have our presentation, but we definitely want to hear from you. We've got essentially City Hall is coming out here, and that's the important thing about what we're doing with these neighborhood connections, is making sure that the city staff that are responsible for some of these issues are right here to answer your questions. So there's none of this having to, well, we're going to get back to you on that. And there may be some of that, but the critical issue, we've got a lot of the top-level staff of the management team here. We've got council members here, and we're going to talk about that. But the critical thing is we want to make sure that your questions are answered. One of the things that we're going to do, and we promise to do, is when you give your remarks or talk to us, either during the council meeting or after the meeting, we're going to get your name and information, and if we need to follow back up or if you've got a question that needs further research, we will get back to you. The issues that you raise and the metrics that we talk about in regard to what's going on in your neighborhood and the criminal justice issues, we're going to come back 9 to 12 months later, and we're going to let you know how we're doing on how your neighborhood is doing in regard to crime, in regard to code compliance issues, whatever those are. So we're going to hold ourselves accountable, and you'll be able to as well. So let's get started. And I want to go back, as it said, Mayor's vision. This isn't just the Mayor's vision. This is the Council's vision. We are partners working together, and it's just been absolutely fantastic, all the things that we've worked on together. So let's talk about staff. If you could see right behind, here's our council. We've got Councilmember Duclos, Councilmember Selsky, Deputy Mayor Burbridge is on vacation, Councilmember Sefa Dawson, Councilmember Moore is here, Councilmember Maloney is out of the state, Councilmember Honda is present, and myself. And so we've got a really great council that really works well together, and we've really been real partners in moving forward and getting a lot accomplished so far on your behalf. So let's talk about what we've been up to. Mayor's and City Council's vision, the power of now. So as you can see, this was the very first neighborhood connection meeting that we had in Brigadoon Elementary. Doesn't that seem like a long time ago now, you guys? That was in, I believe, late February. And again, we're going to go back to that neighborhood after we've gone through the 6. We're working our way eastward. We started all the way over in Twin Lakes, and we're working our way eastward. And by the time we get done with those 6, then we're going to turn right around and go back to that neighborhood. So probably about a year from now, hopefully a little less, we'll be back here talking about issues that matter to you guys. That's Kathy, and we're doing the New Day Federal Way. What had happened in regard to our Channel 21 is that for a period of like 4 or 5 years, we didn't have any new programming on Channel 21, which was a great asset. We're doing a newsletter because there's been a lot that's been happening, and we're going to talk about 2 of the things that are on there, but this newsletter is going to go out on October 8th, and it's going to go out to every household in Federal Way about what we've done with the park and the PAC and some other things. So be on the lookout for that. It's got contact information. It has all the council members in there and their contact information, and we want to hear from you. But a lot of what I'm going to say today is contained in this, in this publication. But the key thing that we really want to do is communicate with our citizens, with you, and because we work for you and on behalf of you every day, and everything that we do is gauged toward trying to make this a better place and trying to figure out what you really want in regard to services. So let's talk about downtown economic development. The council and the mayor's office have been working nonstop on economic development. The key to moving forward in this community, in addition to working to making sure that our neighborhoods are stable and healthy and clean, is that we've got to work on our downtown economic development. And let's talk about what we've done. The first is Town Square Park. Across the street from the mall, the city has owned that, what used to be referred to as the AMC movie theater site, for about 9 years. And then we put aside $2.4 million that's been sitting. It's probably a little less than that. Interest has probably driven it up a couple $100,000 over those 9 years. But that property has sat vacant for nearly 9 years. Well, we've been trying to find an investor and that kind of thing. It was just literally fenced off in a pile of rubble. One of the things that the council have been great partners about and that we worked with collaboratively during our retreat is we actually brought in an architect during our retreat in March, and we started to plan. So from planning to inception, to the idea of having the Town Square Park, which is something that I was discussing when I was running for mayor, on July 12th, we were actually able to open the park. This is actually right when it was, oh, thank you. So this is actually when it's being constructed, and we started to get an idea at this time of how cool it was going to look, especially with that vista and what we were doing. And so that's the first article about it. And this was on July 12th, just a beautiful day in the park. We had the whole council there. We had, I think, overall, well over maybe 500 people. Close to maybe even 1,000, between 500 and 1,000 as they were coming through the day. But this was the grand opening. We've got a large grass area, and right now we're still in discussions about what the future of that park is, because while we've got area for basketball courts and we've got an area for the Christmas tree, we've got a 28-foot Christmas tree coming as soon as the weather really turns, we get that first frost. We've reinitiated contact with Nakano and Associates, those architects, and we're looking on children's toys, a water feature, some sort of splash park. Remember how hot it was this summer? And I've got a little 7-year-old at home, and he kept saying, why isn't there a splash park? And I'm like, good idea, Ben. I'm working on it. And so our hope is that by next summer, when the weather turns hot again, we're going to have some of these kids' toys and some amenities. The critical thing, and one of the things that we're working on, and I want to credit several members of our council, is that we've got to have a long-term strategic vision of what that property, what our park looks like, and in conjunction with any possible growth that could occur either on it or around it. And that's what we're trying to work on. We want to make sure that whatever your tax dollars go to pay for, that we're not going to turn around and waste those dollars or have to move things around after that. So we're trying to make sure that whatever we do is centrally located. And so we'd love to have you involved. In fact, that newsletter that we're sending out actually has an automated electronic, what they call Survey Monkey, in which you can get in and give input about what kinds of things, with the kids' toys, swing set, water feature, what kinds of things you want in your downtown park. This is the first downtown park in the history of Federal Way, and the idea is to create this sense of center and real beautification. And so this was a great day, and you could see right behind it, that's going to be the next issue we talk about. But it was really kind of historic. We actually have this picture above the couch in our office at City Hall, blown up poster size to remind us of all the great things that we have to come. So. And this was movie night, the first one where we had the Lego movie, and everything was having a 7-year-old. I think I've seen the movie like 5 or 6 times. But that was the first ever movie night, and we had about 930 people there. A month later, on September 6th, I think, on September 6th, we watched Despicable Me. We even had a bigger screen. This is an inflatable screen, and this was a 26-foot screen. And I asked John, our new parks director, I'm like, what's the next size up? And he says 40 feet, and I said, get it. So we had a 40-foot screen for the September movie, and we had 1,050 people there. And it's just amazing. So what's really cool about this, and actually the views from this area, and I knew that developers, when they saw this, you've got the mountain and the moon and the basketball courts right here. These people a year from now would have never, or a year ago, would have never been in that location. So what we're really trying to do is create this excitement and energy in our downtown where people will invest. And our phone is ringing off the hook. And we'll talk a little bit about, we've got Tim Johnson, our new economic development director. Tim, can you raise your hand? All the way from Sacramento, California. And he's working on making sure that we bring investment into our downtown. And this is definitely one of those things that we're highlighting. In fact, when Dow Constantine, our county executive, came to town, we got in our car and my car and I drove him over there. When Adam Smith was in town, I drove him there and I showed him the PAC location. And so that's really exciting stuff about what's happening. But it was just a pile of rubble, and now it's really literally at the core of what we're doing in our downtown for economic development. The next movie night's going to be at, not that I'm really into movies or anything, but we're going to be at the Community Center on December 12, 2014. The key thing is what we're trying to do is really create, at a moment like this, kind of create that small town feel. And we're going to be, it's another free movie. We're going to have to go back to the 26 feet screen inside the gymnasiums at the Community Center. The movie's free, the popcorn's free, everything's free, and it's going to be great. We actually wanted to play Frozen at the last movie, but Disney had embargoed it out. Okay, this is very historic, and I want to thank the council. This is us at the grand opening of the reopening of the Family Fun Land. You see the toys behind us? That toy area at Steel Lake Park had aged a great deal. We've got Wheelchair Miss America, and she was there for the nation's first ability wheel, a whirl. And that was donated by the Rotary. And it was the first ever in the country for kids to be able to get their wheelchair in this toy and be able to actively participate. And for anybody who knows somebody with challenges and disabilities, sometimes they feel really unable to participate. And I'd like to thank Councilmember Moore for his dedication for all of this and his prior work, and Councilmember Honda, the chair of that Parks Committee. So we've got a new flagpole coming in. Now this is, we're changing the way Federal Way looks and feels as well. We're going to go in the middle of 320th. Now bear with me for a second. It's going to look amazing. In the middle of 320th, that's 320th and 99. We're going to have a 60-foot flagpole with a flag 12 by 18. And then on either side of the roadway, we're going to have 30 American flags. And we're contemplating, I have to get permission, the council and I have to talk about it. They're going to be the ultimate deciders, but I'm going to suggest that we rename 320th from 99 there all the way to the freeway, Veterans Way. And this is going to be, we're actually re-landscaping that center aisle. So downtown economic development, great things are happening. We've got the Performing Arts and Conference Center. We've debated the issue for 10 years. And we enlisted the assistance of some financial experts. And not whether we should do it or not, but the council decided that. But whether it made sense financially, because we did not want to get out over our skis and compromise our city operations. And they said not only yes, but it'll really add to the economic development. So there is the Toys R Us. When we knocked down the Toys R Us and the whole bunch of council members and community members, and that was just earlier this year. And that's where the Performing Arts Conference Center, and it's going to look beautiful. And the key thing is, eventually, it's not going to be a drain on the city's resources. It will represent spending in that area, which will be about $60 million of spending. The total project itself is only $32 million, but the economic benefit to the downtown area will be geometric. It's going to have a tremendous impact, but the key thing is it's not going to be a drain on the city's resources. Let's talk about, we're having, in regard to economic development, $15 million will be spent by Children's Hospital, Seattle Children's, to create the South Sound Children's Hospital down there by Costco. The mall, the Commons, is investing $27 million. That's the Kohl's grand opening right there. Dick's Sporting Goods opens, I think the soft opening is on next Tuesday. And then the grand opening is a few days later. And then Progressive Insurance is coming in there. We need a true strategy on economic development. We're going to reach out to residents, business, and stakeholders. Just like we did with the Blue Ribbon Panel, we're going to do the same thing with the economic development. And we're not going to call it Blue Ribbon Panel 2, but it's going to be the same kind of thing. And the council and I are working together on that. And we've already met with Weyerhaeuser at least 2 times now with the company they're working with, their corporate structure, to make sure that the transition when they leave in 2 years is seamless. And so we want to make sure that that property does not sit vacant. And so we actually think this is a tremendous opportunity for the city of Federal Way, because their footprint in Federal Way had dropped down dramatically. And so they had already, their whole business model had changed. So, and then we're working on getting a college in our downtown. But at this point, I'd like to introduce our representative, Laura. You want to come on up, and she's going to be discussing dispute resolution.
I'm Laura Brawley, and I work with, or I volunteer with, the Dispute Resolution Center of King County. We're your resolution specialist. And what I want to do is tell you a little bit about mediation, but also that it's available now in Federal Way. Before, if you wanted mediation services, you had to drive to Seattle. So thanks to the mayor's work, we're now having mediations in Federal Way, which is really amazing. Mediation basically is working with an impartial mediator to help you resolve a conflict. And so we're not there to provide the solutions, but we're really there to help you have a conversation with the other party. People who work with mediation as opposed to going through litigation, in litigation about 34% of things are followed through. Mediation, that jumps to 90%. Huge jump. And that's really because the solution is developed by both sides, by both parties. You may not be in a conflict now, but at some point you will be, or you have been in the past, because conflict's part of what we deal with all the time. So I encourage you to contact the DRC, or you can talk to me here, but just get a little bit more information. We have people in small claims court, if you find yourself there, in every court session throughout King County. We can do mediation before you see the judge, but we also do things like divorce and elder care and communities, so neighbor to neighbor, landlord-tenant. Pretty much every conflict that you're involved in can be helped through mediation. So I just wanted to give a little shout out again to the mayor and to Judge Larson, who has provided us space to be able to do this in Federal Way, and to encourage all of you and to invite all of you to learn more about it. It's also provided on a sliding scale. One of our goals as a nonprofit is to make sure that it's accessible to all the residents.
What I'm going to do is try to explain to you some of our projects that were completed in 2014. And hopefully I'll be able to show you some pictures before and after so you understand what's going on. And toward the end, I'll show you what's coming up in 2015. As you can see on the map, we were very busy in 2014. There's a lot of projects, actually approximately 10 projects that were completed in 2014. So first of all, I would like to thank you for your patience in navigating all of the construction that was taking place in the city of Federal Way. These are some of the pictures of those projects that they were completed in 2014. This is the Lakota Middle School Safe Route School project, and as you can see, this is right in front of the fire station on Southwest 312, and you see the picture before and after. Now, this is 320th at 20th. That particular intersection was improved to create a double left turn in both directions on 320th, and that was completed around the middle of the summer. This is 21st Avenue Southwest at Southwest 336 intersection improvement. Again, you can see the before and after, and this project created a double left turn in all 4 corners of that intersection. This is 320th Preservation Project. This is another project that we were successful in obtaining $1 million for overlaying 320th between I-5 and 11th Avenue South. And what you're seeing here, the finished product. And the 2014 asphalt overlay. This is a program that we are the envy of many municipalities. We are the envy because we have a commitment from the City Council to fund the program and make sure that we have one of the best streets in the state. So we have a commitment for $1.5 million every year, and we've been having that for a long time. Ongoing project, as I mentioned earlier, 320th at 20th, the water quality vault, which starts in construction next Monday. Now, what we have planned for 2015 is approximately 10 projects that definitely you're going to have the overlay, and we were able to obtain some federal funding for additional overlay. So we have 2 projects that's going to be federally funded, 288 Street improvement and South Street 24th Street improvement. Both of those will be constructed next year, and an overlay constructed next year. We have 3 intersection projects. 2 of them proposed to be in the budget to be constructed next year, the South 328th Street at First Avenue and South 304th Street at 28. Both of those projects under design this year, and one of them is going to require some additional right-of-way, and we are hoping to have them under construction next year. That concludes my presentation, and at the end, we'll be more than happy to answer any question that you may have.
From the police department, there'll be 3 presenters, and there's 2 main takeaways from our presentation tonight. What are some of the steps that you can take to protect yourself and your family? And the second takeaway is, how can you partner with us to make your neighborhood and your community safer? First, we're going to share with you some crime statistical information, how we keep track of crime, and how we actually deploy our police officers within the police department. Second is mayor and police department initiatives to make our community safer. And the third, the Safe City program, is how can you partner with us to make our community safe? This is a map of our city. Our city is 22.26 square miles. Our population is roughly 92,000. We are the 11th largest city in the state of Washington. Now, this map here is for purposes of policing, we divide our city into 4 sectors. Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3, and Sector 4. Now, there's some science to how we deploy our police officers, primarily based on calls for service. So depending on whether it's day shift, swing shift, or night shift, we will deploy officers to sectors that generally create more calls for service than other. But if we have a problem area that we need to put additional focus to, the lieutenants and commanders will deploy officers accordingly to that particular location. We have had some gun violence up north, and we're going to share with you what steps we're taking to try to mitigate and prevent gun violence up at the north end of our city. For example, this is a reporting district 86. This is around Mirror Lake Elementary School. If you look at the total crime, 98, really no change. And this is measuring first 6 months of 2013 and 2014. So it is the latest information. If you look at crime rate from 2012 to 2013, it was relatively flat. And we're seeing some increase in some areas, down in others, but no significant crime trend change in 2014. And then what's really important work that's being done behind the scenes, and you'll have these 2 ladies come up here and speak in a little bit, but it's our crime analyst prevention specialists. They are working behind the scenes, and we've had a long-term relationship with apartment management staff, but they are constantly in communication. If they're a problem resident, or if we respond to an apartment complex, there's a crime, we're forwarding the reports to them. And if there's a problem from their end, they're letting us know. But bottom line is we're trying to enforce lease agreements, evict people that are causing problems. Every time I get an opportunity to talk to a community, I want to tell you what I believe poses the greatest risk to you and to your family, but it's quite often overlooked. In the media, you're going to see violent crimes and so forth, but for citizens like you, if you're not involved in drug sales, human trafficking, selling or buying people, the odds are that somebody's going to come randomly and hurt you is very minimal. But whereas traffic accidents, it can happen to just anyone at random. So I wanted to tell you, bring that to your attention. And then young people, traffic cause is the leading cause of death for young people. So if you have teenagers, I'm going to give you a couple of safety tips for your family. We could spend all day talking about traffic safety tips, but 2 things. If you just do these 2 things, it will significantly reduce your chance of being involved in a serious injury or fatality collision. 1 is if you're at an intersection, whether the light is green or red, when you're entering an intersection, make sure to check to your left and check to your right as you enter. The worst thing that can happen, the worst type of collision that can happen is when you get hit on the B pillar, T-bone type of collisions. Those are, when collisions are 30, 40 plus, that's when fatality collisions are going to occur. So do not trust the light. You'll be amazed how many people are running red lights because they're doing everything but driving. They're texting, they're eating, they're not being attentive to their driving. Second thing I'm going to tell you is getting into your car and driving over here is probably the most dangerous thing that you and your family did tonight. So when you get into that car, pay attention to your driving. Fatality collisions have been on the decline for years, but in recent years, it's actually on the climb. And I think everybody in here knows why that's occurring. It's smartphone. So pay attention to your driving. So I want to just drive that message to you. In fact, we're doing some things within the police department to educate, prevent people from getting in these type of collisions, but we're also taking enforcement action. Second thing, September 16th, we did our official rollout, unveiling of our black and whites. And we're a very progressive police department. And one of the things about the black and white just allows more visibility, progressive, a new, fresh look. I will tell you that we have a lot of dedicated men and women that are committed to serving you. And I'm very proud to serve you as a police department representative. Thank you very much. This is Lindsay Terrell, one of our crime analyst prevention specialists. She was actually a school teacher, but we stole her from the Federal Way Public Schools. There you go.
Thank you. I'll steal that too. Thank you for having us. I notice a lot of familiar faces in here because Mirror Lake actually has a pretty good block watch program going on, and some of you might even be part of the Safe City program, which my partner Michelle is going to talk about here in a few minutes. So I thank all of you who have attended block watch meetings in the past, and hopefully some of you who will attend them in the future and come see us over at the booth if you want to get something like that going in your neighborhood if you haven't already. You know, one of the best parts of my job, I think, is that I don't have to respond after crimes occur. I get to try to be on the side of helping prevent them happen in the first place. And one of the big things that we see happen to our normal, good, everyday citizens is burglaries. And burglaries are something specifically in your area that have gone up since last year. And there's a lot of burglary prevention. There's a lot of things that, as I'm reading reports and as officers are responding, we wish our residents would have known to do this or would have thought of this and maybe could have helped protect themselves just a little bit better. So some of the things that we talk about in a block watch, if I come out to your neighborhood, if that's something that you want, or even just come to your house and do what we call a security survey, which is walk around your house. It's for free, give you tips, suggestions, way to sort of harden your target is what we call it, make it harder for a criminal to get in. But some of the things that we like to talk about and have you think about are lighting, securing your doors and windows, SEPTED, which is a crime prevention through environmental design, which means look at your landscaping. Are there trees? Are there bushes around your windows, around your doors that a suspect could hide in, that they could conceal themselves from neighbors? Alarms, video surveillance systems, and things of that nature. Block watch, knowing your neighbors and reporting all suspicious activity to police. Please come and talk to me and Michelle later if you get a chance, because there are so many ways now that you can report information to the police other than just calling 911 if you're hesitant in that. There's all kinds of websites, tip lines, our lines, different ways that we can get officers that information to know what's going on that we're not seeing that you as residents may be seeing. So Michelle's going to come and talk about our Safe City program a little bit, but like I said, I encourage you, if you haven't ever been to one of the block watches and had that process with your neighborhood, or if you have, but it's been so many years ago that you can't really remember, please come and talk to me and let's get something set up for the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle Roy. I'm the crime analyst for the Federal Way Police Department, and I'm going to talk to you for a few moments about Safe City and then some crime information resources. And so Safe City started back in 2007, and there was a lot of hoopla over our cameras. There's actually two prongs to Safe City. There's the cameras, and then there's the website. And the cameras are great. We do have volunteers who man them and look for suspicious activity and let our patrol officers know. But the best tool I feel about Safe City is our Safe City website. We have a website where you can join as through your HOA or get your neighborhood together, form a block watch, and you can blog about what's going on. So if you see a suspicious car by your mailbox, you can call that in, call our non-emergency number or 911, and then you can blog about it, post about it, so that your other neighbors can see, hey, I saw this red car by our mailboxes. I think they were stealing something. I called police. I came by. They were already gone. But if anybody sees that car again, call, so that you may maybe you may have seen that red car but didn't think too much about it, but now you think, okay, that's somebody targeting us for mail theft. And you'll give a call, and then maybe we'll catch them down the road. Maybe somebody else might get a license plate. And then there's lots of research we can do to kind of figure out who that is and follow up and investigate with that. So Safe Cities are partnering, it's getting together with your block watch, getting together with your HOA, knowing your neighbors. And so that maybe is not for everyone. This is a program that I love that I brought to the police department or into the city. And so this is just information that you can go to. Every day we upload our crimes to crimereports.com. And you can see what's going on in your neighborhood for the last 6 months. And you can sign up for alerts. I actually live in Federal Way, but I live in the unincorporated area. So I really don't know what happens really too much outside of Federal Way. So I love it. I found it through where I live. And so I signed up for alerts, and for the most part, my area is pretty crime-free. And again, we just really want to emphasize, Lindsay and I go out. You guys know what's going on. We really count on you to be our extra eyes and ears. So give us a call.
Mayor Ferrell invites audience members to share their thoughts during the public comment session.
Now for the most important part of the evening, public comment. Would anybody like to ask the counselor or the staff any questions?
Traffic safety issue. I brought a little map so whoever can tend to it, that is leaving the area by Deseret Industries, the Grand Buffet, Outback,
right,
going west. I think it's parking overflow from the parking garage. People park clear up to where you exit the strip mall. You can't see either way. When you try to leave, you can't see left or right because people are parked clear up there. And I think if there were one of those signs like I've seen in Seattle that says no parking from here to the driveway or no parking 20 feet, then we could see it's dangerous leaving there.
Okay, yeah, we can certainly take a look at that.
Rick, can you please identify yourself and your position?
Yeah, Rick Perez, the city traffic engineer. So yeah, my division handles all traffic engineering and transportation planning for the city. So yeah, that's my bailiwick, and be happy to take a look at that.
I'm Norma Blanchard, longtime resident of Federal Way. And when they put the lights in, I live on 312.
A little bit closer.
7th Avenue and anyway, 8th Avenue, 312.
Yeah.
Okay, so then they have a light down on 21st by Lakota. I have to come out on 8th Avenue because 7th, where I live, is a cul-de-sac.
Right.
It is hell turning right or left at certain times. Are they going to put a light in on 8th and 312th?
That's a good question, because I know right there when you come out on 312, that's where kitty corner from there is where that little market is. Yeah, that Old Town, what's that market called? Sam's Market, okay. Yeah. Rick?
Yeah, so we do have traffic data for that intersection. We evaluate it. We get new counts done every other year, and we do evaluate for locations that might warrant a traffic signal. Now, there's federal requirements that need to be met in order to justify a traffic signal, and right now the volumes on 8th are not high enough to justify that. So I don't know exactly when that's going to get funded, but we are planning ahead for that, and when volumes increase to the extent that we can justify that, that it rises high enough on the priority list, then we would get that built.
I'm a school bus driver, so no more lights, no more traffic circles. We're tired of them. I'm sorry. The question we have is, as soon as Weyerhaeuser decided they were going to move out of the area, did you guys already think about all the grand things you could do with that property, like take it over, make it a big park, whatever, instead of putting more housing in, or...
When Tim was interviewing and when I was going through the process for the interviews for the economic development director, that was one of the questions. I said, when Weyerhaeuser leaves, because it's been obvious for a long time. They have reduced their workforce by at least 1,500, almost 2,000 people. So anybody who was paying attention knew. And obviously the whole business plan changed. They went from really this timber company to a real estate holding company. So, I think we only collect about $30,000 a year in retail and in retail sales tax, and whoever owns the property is already going to pay the real estate tax. So I was actually getting really concerned about their decreasing footprint, especially they're kind of rattling around that building that was too big for them. So I've been kind of thinking, what is going to go there eventually? And that's one of the things at our city that is the number one priority, separate and apart from law enforcement. The number one priority of your city government is law enforcement and making sure that you're safe. Once we get past that, the number one thing we're working on is what goes there. Yes, sir.
2 quick points. I noticed in the last 12 to 18 months a large increase in jaywalking all over Federal.
Yeah.
Last week, I watched a police officer almost hit someone jaywalking 320th. The police officer kept going. So I would like to know if there's going to be a crackdown on jaywalking. It's like the broken window effect. You let it slide, it just gets worse and worse. And the other one is the aggressive panhandling. I've seen a massive increase in panhandling, to the point that I see them sitting, waiting for their turn, to sit in the line at 320th and I-5.
Would you like to talk just a bit, Chief, about jaywalking enforcement and aggressive panhandling?
Sure. We've got 4 commanders here. We'll meet and talk. We'll pass information along to the traffic unit. We'll take a look at that and do some appropriate enforcement. In terms of panhandling, we have worked on that issue, particularly in the downtown area, addressing homeless camps. Clearly, we don't have the problem that we did several years ago, but I think there are some panhandling that's still going on, particularly on the south end of town. We are aware of that. We are working with the individuals. We're trying to provide resource, be compassionate about it. At the same time, you need to know that panhandling is not necessarily a crime. So if they're being aggressive, approaching people, harassing, intimidating, that's something we can deal with. If they're going out in this roadway, interfering with traffic that's considered disorderly conduct, we can take some enforcement for. But panhandling in itself is a constitutionally protected activity that we can't just arrest or take enforcement because they're panhandling.
As a chief and I we've talked about this a lot. My wife, goes to the, local stores when she's got a little Ben with her, and so, there have been, there's a fine line between aggressive panhandling and attempted robbery. I mean, it can get to the point where it's like people won't take no for an answer, and it can get very coercive. We would just, just like our crime prevention folks were saying, if you think of something as sort of aggressive and that people are hanging out in a certain parking lot, just dial 911 and just have an officer make contact, because, sometimes it gets to the point where people, they push it, and they don't realize that in regard to personal boundary space. I spent 19 years as a prosecutor, and I can tell you that some of those cases kind of turn into, purse snatches and the like. So I appreciate that. And okay, thank you. We're going to have Kathy get your information, and when we do some sort of enforcement or special operations, sometimes we do that maybe around schools, but it is important to keep in mind. One of the things that we were doing is there were certain spots where you have these super blocks where it's almost impossible to find a place to cross. You see that on Pack Highway, you see that on 320th. So we've, where the library is. So we've installed a couple of flashing lights to make sure that people can safely cross. All right, sir.
Thank you for holding these council meetings in the community.
Oh, thank you.
When you showed the flagpole, it triggered a suggestion. I just wanted to make sure you all heard.
Yeah, Marwan right here. Marwan's my the guy that's going to implement this. So
my daughter is attending college in Southern California, and in the neighboring town, Glendora, they've got these flag markers in the streets of all the local kids who are serving in the Air Force or the Army. And so the kid's name is up there, and it's something like, the city of Glendora is proud of John Smith, United States Army.
Huh.
I think that'd be really cool. The city of Federal Way is proud of Jim Ferrell.
Right.
That would be so cool. So
you're the second person that's a great idea. You're the second person in about 3 days to talk about the divisions of the service. They said, the guy said, don't forget the Coast Guard. But the divisions of the service, he's right. And have those kinds of things when we do this. That's a great idea. Oh, you guys, I need to tell you while you're here, November 11th, Veterans Day, at 11 a.m., that's when we're going to have the ceremony to take the 12-foot by 18-foot flag up the flagpole for the very first time. So that's actually when they signed the armistice for Veterans Day, so I thought it'd be kind of cool. So that's when we're going to unveil the sign, Veterans Way. Yes?
Thank you for all of you being here. I'm a city staffer for the city of Seattle, so I understand the time dedication it takes to come and be at an evening meeting. I actually skipped one to be here tonight because this is my neighborhood, my home. I have 6 things I want to talk about. I narrowed it down to 2. Okay. One thing I do is a traffic question. Just because of the nature of my work and working in neighborhood planning, I understand traffic and traffic engineering. But with the new building coming up with the High Point LLC 320th project, which is next door to me,
right.
How have we looked at how we're going to mitigate the traffic issues that are going to come from having possibly 700 cars next door with 300 something residents coming in? I know they allotted space for 2 cars for each unit, which is ridiculous in this climate. Also, I go to the French Lake Dog Park. Thank you for the work that you're doing there right now, digging out the really gross pond. But one of the reason why I'm here actually is because a bunch of us go there in the summertime from 2 to 4 is when the sprinklers come on. And an old gentleman turned to me and said, "You go to one of those town hall meetings and you tell the mayor, don't turn the sprinklers on between 2 and 4 in the afternoon at a dog park when everybody's there." One, it's not smart. It's not good policy. You don't want sprinklers on during the day. You want them on at night, usually. You can correct me if I'm wrong. And also, that's the high time for dogs to be at the park, and we're running around trying to run away from the sprinklers.
So the sprinklers really
They come on at 2, between 2 and 4 in the afternoon all summer. And it's ridiculous. And then really quickly, reinstate your neighborhood coordinator. As somebody who serves as neighborhood coordinator, they were cut in Federal Way a couple years ago as part of the downturn. You need them. You've got great people working in police. Thank you, Lindsay Thoreau and Officer Jason Ellis for getting our drug dealer out at our complex. But neighborhood coordinators do a different job than those folks do. Like to see them come back to Federal Way. Every city around here has one, except for us. And then lastly, let's figure out what to do about temporary seasonal workers in parks. I understand that the union is preventing us from hiring people for the whole summer, but
we solved it.
Good, because that made me so mad. So I'm really glad that you solved that, because that was not just.
Yeah, I know. So that's an issue that I felt very strongly about in regard to, because we shouldn't just churn and burn through, if people are working for the city of Federal Way, they should get, they should get benefits, they should have, if they're working a certain number of things. And so we've actually solved that issue. We worked with the Teamsters Union and with the Parks Department.
Thank you.
And we worked out a compromise, and it's all done.
Because retraining people every few weeks is ridiculous. It's not good use of our money.
So I was sorry, when just a few minutes, I was trying to get Matt's attention.
That's okay.
So Matt is and we've got Matt and Rick. So Matt Herrera, he is the person that has been sort of riding herd on this High Point issue. What are we doing about mitigation?
Thank you. Again, my name is Matt Herrera. I'm a city planner with your Community Development Department. I reviewed the High Point Master Land Use application. And as far as mitigation goes for the traffic, they will be putting in, at their cost, brand new streets within the development. They will be doing a signal modification on South 320th and 11th. They will be paying into the city's traffic mitigation fund, and that is a payment per dwelling unit. Also, the developer will be subsidizing transit passes for residents and those folks that are going to be working in the ground floor retail spaces. Also,
can I interrupt you?
Yes.
Okay. That does not address the number of cars that are going to come off I-5 up 320th. We already have a traffic issue there, and we have made some improvements with the turn signal at I-5 and 320th on the off-ramp. But when you have that many more cars coming onto a main road, you are going to have issues. Also, let's talk about the fact that Metro is going to cut the 179 route and the 187 and all the other routes that are going to be taking some of those folks to the transit centers and the park and ride. So even if you give them a bus to pass to subsidize how many cars are moving in and out, you have those cuts that are going to take place if we don't find a solution from the state to deal with traffic. So I appreciate, I've seen the plans, I work in planning, so I understand all of that, but that's not going to address 320th. We got to figure out how we're going to move that many more cars and that much more business, especially if we're growing in other areas. So sure. I don't mean to be rude. I want you to finish, but I do want that.
And I'll let Rick answer that.
Thank you.
What do you got, Rick?
Okay, so interestingly enough, the amount of traffic generated by the development is less than the bus barn was.
I have a question for you. Why are we messing with Metro when you could go out and probably get Pierce County Transit to take the routes and not cut anything and do it at a more reasonable price? Why are we letting Metro screw the city over by making us pay for crap that they're unwilling to cut in Seattle in the first place? Because why do you deal with a bunch of cutthroats when you can find other services through competition to get better service instead of depending on one group that's just out to rip you off?
So, I was actually between the two, and not to be a big proponent of Metro, between the two services, Metro is what I rode. I felt like whenever I was on a Metro bus, every day for about 3 or 4 years. I felt there was always space on a bus when you would ride a Sound Transit bus. If you're coming back or going in, you almost had to stand almost all the time. There's almost always space on a Metro bus. There's always space on those areas. I think ultimately what they had is they had a lot of routes, and they were trying to figure out what to do. They did go out with the countywide initiative that failed because they were dealing with different contract issues. So, I'm not here to defend Metro or Sound Transit, but I can tell you, between the two, I think that Metro manages its routes, and when you're riding home after a long day, you're not having to stand in the aisle all the way back.
I understand that. But
so, we're not going to get rid of Metro.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but competition is the way to go. You're not going to let one person steamroll you every time they want something.
Well, Pierce Transit actually cut like 25% of its
But then again,
delivery
if
service.
you play one against the other, you might get a better deal.
All right, thanks, Brian. I appreciate it. Anybody else?
I just want to know what's being done to prevent another DevCo from coming in and making another low-income housing, which I know you're going to say is not really low-income, but looking at the statistics, it is, in the neighborhood. So basically, what if they come in and want to buy Weyerhaeuser and put in low-income apartments there? What's to prevent them from doing that?
It's not zoned that way. I'm not here to defend DevCo. I'm not here to defend the High Point project. We are not, the city of Federal Way is not behind this. It was zoned for that. They got their application in. It was appealed. People have, it went through the process. So we, as a city council, after the application is filed, cannot go in and just say, oh, by the way, we're going to change the zoning. We would have opened the city of Federal Way up for millions of dollars of liability. Anyway, sir, did you have a comment?
I'm not going to comment on that. I've commented all night long on that. I just was wondering, there's not a lot of sidewalks around here.
Yeah.
I was wondering where private property stops and the street starts. For who takes care of, there's a specific house where I think the guy died.
Yeah, it's horrible.
It's
I know.
awful. I
We've
don't
got-
know whose obligation it is.
Right behind you, Marty. It's Marty's. Marty, can you talk about that?
Hi, I'm Marty Gillis. I'm the building official. I also run lead to a group called the Code Enforcement or Code Compliance Division. Code Compliance is your sounding board for tall grass, overgrown blackberry bushes, vacant properties, zoning violations, sign ordinance violations.
We're going to talk about this at management team. We're going to talk about this at management team on Monday. Okay, so let's make sure we get this address and let's get our code compliance on it. And then Larry will talk about it at management team on Monday.
Excellent.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank
so
you.
We'll run this down to ground.
Madeline Grayson, just wondering if the Federal Way Senior Center will ever be moved to Federal Way.
It's funny you say that. Yay! The representatives of the Federal Way Senior Center are coming to the City of Federal Way Council meeting, 7 p.m., not this coming Tuesday, but the one after, to ask us to propose that they annex into the City of Federal Way. And that's not complicated, but there's like 3 ways. I'm not going to bore you guys with that legal process, but they want us to, it has to be contiguous. The city can't bring in non-contiguous or little islands beyond our borders. And when we did the community center, the idea was to have it the senior center at the community center. All right, you guys, thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you, Jim.
Thanks for watching Neighborhood Connection Mirror Lake Edition. If you have any questions or concerns you'd like the city to address, you can contact the mayor's office. I'm Kathy Arndt, and we hope you'll join us next time on New Day Federal Way.